Welcome to Let's Therapy, where we get real and raw about your mental health, faith, and blended family. We're your hosts, counselors Scott and Vanessa Martindale. Now let's therapy. Hey guys, it's Scott and Vanessa Martindale with Blended Kingdom Families, and we're so excited to be bringing you
Let's Therapy.
Guys, we are both counselors. I am a LPC, have been for almost 17 years.
Well, and why don't you tell everybody what an LPC stands for?
Yes. So I'm a licensed professional counselor. I have a master's in counseling and human development and been practicing for about 17 years. Vanessa is in her last year of her master's program in marriage and family therapy and is currently doing her practicum.
Yes. So I'm also seeing clients as well, and we'll be graduating at the end of this year, and then we'll be counseling full-time with you.
Well, first of all, we'll be two counselors married. That'll be fun.
That's going to be interesting.
That's going to be so much fun. Before we get into it, though, we want to make sure that we tell you, hey, this podcast is going to be great information, but it's really not a substitute for mental health therapy or counseling. If you're struggling in any area, we highly recommend find yourself a great biblical counselor or somebody locally at your church that you can speak with and to seek the help that you desperately need.
Absolutely. And you guys, as therapists, we need to know now more than ever, we need to know how to help people through life's complexities. And we see a lot of this, with marriage, teen identity issues, blended families, attack on the mind by the enemy, what society and the world has created to alter our mental health and thinking, how healthy people create healthy marriages, things like that. And so we want to bring you just a wide variety of topics, really, of how to intersect your faith, your marriage, and blended family.
Yeah. And why is it important, guys? One, our mental health is imperative to our quality of life. We want to make sure that we're doing the things that we need to be doing so that we can live life to the fullest. It can also be a great measure of determining your emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being, how you think, feel, and determine how you're going to handle and manage stress, our behaviors, and handle our emotions.
Yeah, and you guys, the reality is that anybody can struggle with their mental health, whether the individual is young, old, a believer, an unbeliever. And just know that if you're struggling with mental health right now, just know that you're not alone. Even as therapists, there have been seasons where we've struggled and we've had to see a therapist. And so no judgment here. This is a judgment-free zone, and we just want to help equip and support you guys. And, as the church and the church body, we've seen where judgment and many different opinions can come into play with mental health and with mental illness. And so we just want to first say that this is a very safe place. And we want you guys to be able to bring any of your questions or, any prayer requests to us of things that you might be struggling with.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, and we've seen this, a lot of people have judgment about going to therapists.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like, hey, I don't want to go. I don't want to be shrinked, or I don't want to be, judged, or, this whole laying on the couch thing, it can get odd. So I just want to hopefully put air back in the room and say, hey, it's okay. It's normal. You can go see a counselor.
Yeah. And I think even as believers, it's, we don't want to belittle, condemn, anybody that's struggling with mental health or mental illness. And, rather than condemning those with it, Christians, as Christians, we're called to show kindness. We are called to show love to them, and just meet people where they're at. And in scripture in John 13:34-35, it says, "A new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you, so that you must love one another." And it says in verse 35, "By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another." And so again, you guys, as believers, we don't want to judge or show condemnation or shame anybody, for any mental health or emotional health issues that they're struggling with. We're called to love and to uplift and encourage them.
Yeah. And guys, all throughout the Bible, there are instances where they refer to different things about mental health. They talk about emotions, the status of their mind, their soul, their heart. So we know even folks, as they referenced in the Bible, they struggled.
Oh, absolutely.
And so we know that that's going to, that kind of normalizes kind of the things that we're dealing with. And we know as a culture today that it's even more prevalent.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and an individual's body and mind are both factors of a person's mental health. If a person's mind and body are having difficulties, a person's mental state will suffer as well. I think a good example of this from the Bible is Elijah. Elijah was a prophet who struggled with suicidal thoughts during a difficult time in his life, and we see this in 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 4. And it says, "But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under a broom tree." And listen to this. "And as he asked that he might die, saying, 'Is it enough? Now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am no better than my fathers.'" And here God did not take Elijah's life, but rather gave him the strength to keep going. And God helped Elijah by providing him with a good nap and a good meal. I love that verse, but I love how, even the Bible speaks to mental health. And so you guys know that if you're suffering with it, this is something that's been going on for years, and that I think everybody struggles with it.
Yeah. And guys, blended families, which is the target of our ministry, we know that you guys struggle in this area as well. And it can be very, very difficult if you are struggling individually, and how that interacts with the entire family and how that affects the entire family. So what we're saying is, one, you've got to start with yourself. You've got to do the things that make you healthy, because you healthy does make a healthy marriage.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this in essence, you guys, is going to shape and mold your children. It is within our families that we acquire the majority of our attitudes, our beliefs, our values. In our experience, we've seen many blended families dealing with depression, anxiety, a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, due to divorce, due to having a high conflict ex-spouse or co-parent, forced relationships between step-parents and stepchildren, high and unmet expectations. I think in blended families, there's a lot of expectation put on things. And so again, with our blended families, we deal with a lot of that.
Yeah. So this is the first podcast of many.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk about so many different things. Vanessa and I are going to be here talking. We may have guest counselors come in and talk to us about different issues.
Yep.
But what we're going to do mostly is we're going to put light on these subjects. We're going to talk about them from a spiritual perspective. We're going to talk about them from a clinical perspective, so that you know how to acknowledge them, how to go seek help for them, and how hopefully to heal from them.
Absolutely. And you guys, again, this is about your mental health, about your faith, and about your blended family. And we want to hear from you guys. We want your questions. We want you to send us your thoughts. What is it that you want us to talk about? Because we want to touch those hard things. Like, we want to talk about the hard things. So you guys, thank y'all so much for listening today. We can't wait to get back to you again next week. And thanks for being here with us on Let's Therapy.
Take care, guys.